Welcome and good morning. This fine Monday morning we have. My name's Robert Robinson, and today we're talking about whether Muhammad was really, truly a prophet. In America, most people haven't really considered it. Muhammad, far side of the world, long time ago, it's just not on their radar. But it's becoming more and more so a question in the Americans' minds. And if I can in any way help, I would like to. I am Muslim. I used to be LDS. I used to be Lutheran. And my mother always thought that we used to be Jewish. So I pretty much cover the gamut. I try to identify with everybody. The chat lines are open if you have any questions about how LDS and Islam interlock. Please give me a chat and I'll see if I can answer your question. The question of whether Muhammad was a prophet or not is, I'm sorry, my computer's doing something here. I'm trying to figure it out. Anyway, his biggest miracle, he had several, but his biggest one was the Quran itself. How could an illiterate man compile the Quran in all its beauty? And that was his biggest miracle. In the thumbnail, I show 500 years between Jesus and Muhammad. In the Talmud, it talks about a man named Sandlephon who was 500 years taller than his fellows. And who was this? Well, 500 years was between Jesus and Muhammad. So there, the Talmud itself was talking about Muhammad, but I don't think the Jews recognize that yet. Isaiah 21:7 also talks about the rider of a camel, and talks about a rider of a horse, rider of an ass, and a rider of a camel. That was obviously a reference to Muhammad. Jesus rode into Jerusalem on the colt of an ass, a colt of a donkey, and actually it was the colt of an ass. I don't think a donkey can reproduce. I'm not sure about that. I can't remember. Anyway, the final one, the rider of the horses, two rider of the horses, were Hiram and Joseph Smith, the Mahdi. Mahdi being a title, not necessarily a person. Jesus gave the title. The title belongs to Jesus, but he lends it out to his prophets occasionally in these last days before his return. In Psalms 84:6, it talks about God passing by Baca and leaving rain from the clouds. Well, what is Baca? Well, Baca is another word for Makkah, which is another word for Mecca. So there it's identifying Mecca as rain from God was knowledge coming from the heavens. And he left pools of water. In other words, knowledge of God that was stored there in the Quran and the Hadith. Finally, and this one is a bit of a riddle, and you might enjoy it if you try it out. It's in Proverbs 30, verses 15 to 31. It talks about three things in four that are never have enough. And there are probably many interpretations of that scriptures, but the one I give is talking about the four prophets. Moses being the first, Jesus being the second. Jesus, of course, was the Christ the Messiah also, but he was also a prophet, the greatest prophet. And then came Muhammad, the third, and finally Joseph Smith, the fourth. And as you look at the attributes of those four that are repeated over and over again in chapter 30, you'll see that they apply to those four prophets. So it was written right in Proverbs that Muhammad was amongst Moses, Jesus, and the Mahdi. Well, that's pretty much all I had. I don't see any chat. So I'd like to read a couple poems I wrote this morning. I have to preface this a little. I watched a video of a young girl who got too close to the edge of a road and fell in some water. It was deep. She was drowning. And people were just standing there watching her drown. Her friends were standing there just watching her. And finally, this old man dove in. And you could tell it was all he could do. He was totally out of breath. But he managed to save her. They say that when you are drowning, you might be able to fight your way to the surface once, maybe twice, but if you go down the third time, that's a saying in America, well, that's the third time. It's over. And so he managed to catch her before she drowned. Now, Jesus hung on the cross, of course. And the cross was made of wood, and the wood came from a tree. So the saying is, he hung on a tree. I referenced that in the video on this poem too. So this is the poem. On video, I saw a young girl fall in. The spectators shunned, for the drowning girl had sinned. For too close to the edge she had dared to walk. That was her idle fellow's self-righteous talk. An old man stood by and saw no one jump in to save the poor girl from such a minor sin. So in the old man dove, short of breath be damned. Old limbs had muscle memory, from such courage stemmed. He saved the girl as she went down 3. But her brother saved her by hanging on a tree. So it is not I, but God who saves you today. I find joy in being his servant in any way. I hope if I can possibly help anybody come closer to God, whom in Arabic is called Allah, I hope to do that. I would gladly be a reference to the LDS missionaries if the mission presidents allowed it. And any Muslim investigators are welcome to look at any of my stuff or chat, and I'll try to answer any questions. For you don't have to leave Muhammad and the Quran behind in order to join the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My last poem is about a friend of mine who has an anger issue, and I entitled it Whirlpool. And I have to preface this one a little as well. It talks about the wise monkey from the movie The Lion King. The monkey was talking and giving wise counsel. The pain I speak of in this is not physical pain, but verbal pain, harsh words that hurt the feelings. I also reference cholla, which a lot of people won't be familiar with, but it's called jumping cactus down here. When you get too close to it, it appears to literally leap out and grab you. It'll stick to you, and the stickers are very painful. What happens is the needles of the cactus are so fine that the eye can't really see them. So you don't realize you're too close. And the ends of the needles have like Velcro hooks on them. So once they grab a hold of your skin, they'll just latch on. They won't let go. I've had bad experiences with those. And the best way to get rid of them is with if they're not too deep, is with a comb. You just get your comb and put it between your skin and the cactus, and it'll pop right off. Of course, if you drove them in too deep, then you have to get out the pliers and pull them out. That was my experience. And finally, my friend is going to have a minor toe surgery in the future here, so I make a little comment about that. This is the poem called Whirlpool. You've often asked why I don't get mad. I finally realized why I'm not sad. To physically attack, you won't dare. So my amygdala really doesn't care. My pain may be real, but like the monkey said, the pain is not important, for it's quickly over, past, and dead. For I perceive you in a cholla patch. Now is not the time to rashly act. True, I can see the problem is real, but think of it as a deal. You agreed to a life in a whirlpool of anger. By such God learns you to swim as you brave the danger. Yet you submitted to such, assured by your heavenly parents' perfect luck. In preparing you, their princess, for your role at that eternal recess. So run steady the race we will certainly trace. To godhood we go after we fix your toe. And that's all I have today. I don't see any chat. I didn't really expect it. And my mouse has disappeared. I guess I'll end up with my finger. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow at 6.